I'm Chris, head mechanic at Lebiecki Mountain Bikes. I'm just going to run through a few tips and a few basics of how to get your mountain bike up and running. I'll just run through replacing your disc brake pads, something that will probably need doing possibly every 2 to 9 months depending on how much you ride. If you look at these pads, you'll see when the wear gets possibly below about 1mm they need changing. Make sure you get a good quality set of replacement pads, making sure obviously they're the same type and suitable for your model of brake. Your local bike shop will be able to help you with that. You usually get everything you need, all the spare clips and pins in the packet. Then with a fairly large flat bladed screwdriver, if you just ease the pistons back into the housing before you apply the new set of pads. Being careful to press in the centre of the piston so it's pushed back evenly into the bore. Once that's done, take the new set of pads with the spring in the centre of the two pads, squeeze the pads together and just slide it in from underneath. And then once you can see all the pad securers and the spring clip are all aligned, just push the pin straight the way through. You might need the screwdriver just to push it into place. Then using a small set of needle nose pliers, if you just push the pin until it clicks into its housing. There we go. Once the pin's pushed all the way home, if you just get the small retaining clip, once you've made sure that's all securely fastened so it's not going to rattle its way out, you should be ready to replace your rear wheel. When you are replacing your rear wheel, it's a good idea to just apply some grease inside the axle just to prevent the quick release seizing in there. So just a multi-purpose grease applied inside the hub will just keep your quick release running smooth. Then reinserting your rear wheel, as you push the cassette into the dropouts, you just sort of pull down your rear mech, make sure your disc rotor is aligned in the gap between your pads, and sort of pull the wheel securely into the dropouts, tighten the quick release, and shut the cam on the other side. It's possible that you just need to sort of balance the disc brake pads by gently easing them side to side with the disc rotor. Test the brake a couple of times just to make sure it feels solid and is biting as it should be, and the pads are changed. Another important job that you need to do quite regularly is replacing your chain. The more you replace the chain, the longer the rest of your drivetrain and sprockets will last. I've already taken the chain off this bike, so to get the bike ready for replacing it, what you need to do is shift both mechs into the largest sprocket. So on the back that's going to be first gear, and the front third. Then that gives you the maximum amount the chain's ever going to stretch. I'd recommend buying a good quality chain because it lasts longer than other cheaper ones you can buy. So usually you'll get your new chain, which will be usually about 2 or 3 inches longer than they should, and a joining pin with that as well. Once you go over the top of the cassette, you want to bring the chain down around the underneath of the top jockey wheel, then through the back of the rear mech there, making sure the chain's put underneath that tab on the cage there. Then the same again, up and over the lower jockey wheel, making sure the chain's in contact with the jockey wheel and not any part of the rear mac. And a useful tool to make is when you're changing your chain, is just a small sort of retention clip to hold the chain together while you're joining it. It's been made out of an old spoke. If you just cut it down to about 6 centimetres long, like so, cut it with a decent quality set of pliers or cutters. If you just hold the ends firmly in a set of pliers, bend each side down just so it's over 90 degrees. To achieve the desired chain length, what you want is to insert the clip into the back of the chain, stretch the rear mech forward, put the clip in the front part of the chain, so your rear mech is stretched by about 80 to 90% of its travel. Then if you bring the two parts of the chain together, you can see where you need to cut the chain down to. Using a chain tool that's specific to the number of gears you have, in this case is a 9-speed chain. If you've got a BMX or say a 10-speed road bike, you'll need a different chain tool. So you want to remove links from the chain so it exposes the thinner half of the link. If you do that on both sides, of the chain, this is your most common sort of split link. Basically it's two halves of a link which are used to join a chain. It's quite useful when you're out on the trail because it allows you to join the chain without using the chain tool. So once the chain is at the desired length, insert the split links, one in from the front, one in from the back. And if you see, there's sort of an ovalised hole in the split link which allows you to push either side of the roller in the split link through the hole. And then if you just pull the chain apart, the link clicks into place. You can remove the clip like so. You should have a chain that is the right length. The most important part of chain maintenance really is to apply a decent quality lube as often as possible. The best way to lube your chain, if you change gear so that your chain sits about in the middle of your cassette, it just makes it a lot easier to handle. And then in summer I'd recommend using a product like GT85, which is a dry lube, or obviously in the winter when it's wet you want to use a wet lube, which is just a lot thicker and stays on the chain longer than a dry lube. So with a clean rag, just put it underneath the chain, spray the chain on top and just basically rub the oil into the chain. Backpedal the bike so that a new part of the chain is exposed. Repeat again, and just basically do that all the way around your chain so it's completely coated with new lube. Every time you go on a ride you want to clean your bike, and obviously as you spray water on the chain it's going to remove any dry lube or wet lube, so you want to reapply some sort of lubrication after you've washed your bike. You should, as often as possible, manufacturers recommend every ride, check all the bolts on your bike. So basically after you've cleaned the bike, just go around every single bolt you can find and just sort of gently nip it up, make sure nothing's come loose. So if you look after your bike as shown, check your chain, clean the chain, check all parts for wear and damage, check your bearings, replace brake pads as necessary, look after your suspension. Your bike should keep up and running for years to come and should also provide you with lots of enjoyment.